So you had a huge fight with someone. It was a while ago, and you've told everyone and yourself that it's water under the bridge. But have you noticed that whenever their name pops up, your jaw gets a little tight? Or maybe you find yourself avoiding that one coffee shop you used to love without even really thinking about it. You think you've let it go, but your subconscious might be waving a giant red flag. And that hidden grudge? It's doing more damage than you can imagine. This isn't just about a past disagreement. It's about a present burden you might not even realize you're still carrying, weighing you down with every step. Hi, I am Harry, and today we're going to explore this hidden weight. Think of a grudge not as a boulder, something obvious and heavy that you know you're carrying, but as a small, sharp pebble you've slipped into your own pocket. At first, you barely notice it. But over time, with every movement, it digs into you, creating a constant, low-level irritation. It influences how you walk, how you stand, how you interact with the world. This is the subtle, insidious nature of an unresolved hurt. It becomes a part of your daily experience, a quiet discomfort that drains your energy and colors your perception of everything around you. Today we're uncovering the 7 surprising and subtle signs that a hidden grudge is still calling the shots in your life. These aren't the loud, obvious signals like shouting matches. Nope. These are the quiet, sneaky ways your subconscious reveals that an old hurt is still in the driver's seat. Spotting these is the first and most important step to finally letting go and getting your peace back. We'll be looking at the whispers, not the screams, of your emotional state. It's in these quiet moments, these almost imperceptible shifts in our behavior, that the truth of our unresolved pain truly resides. The hidden cost of a grudge is immense. It's a silent tax on your mental and physical health. It's like running an app in the background of your mind that constantly consumes your processing power and battery life. It can manifest as anxiety, as chronic stress, even as physical ailments, because our bodies and minds are deeply interconnected. Holding on to that pain is like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to be the one who gets sick. Our purpose today is to help you identify that poison. Not to place blame, but to empower you to finally find the antidote and reclaim your inner peace. The first sign that a grudge is still living within you is that your communication has become a minefield of
pack your shit, let's roll.
The first sign that a grudge is still living within you is that your communication has become a minefield of passive aggression. This is where your anger, denied a direct outlet, begins to leak out sideways. It's in the sharp edge of a sarcastic comment that you quickly follow up with, "Oh, I'm just kidding." But are you, really? Or is that joke a veiled expression of a deeper frustration? Is the art of saying something hurtful while maintaining plausible deniability. This form of communication is a defense mechanism designed to protect you from the vulnerability of expressing your true feelings directly. Consider the backhanded compliment. "Wow, that presentation was surprisingly good," you might say. Or, "I'm so impressed you managed to get that done on time." The compliment is there, on the surface, but underneath it carries a current of doubt, a subtle jab at their competence. This isn't honest communication. It's a strategic move in a game only one person knows is being played. Each backhanded compliment is a small release of the pressure that has built up inside you, a way to score a point in a conflict that you claim is over. It's a sign that the wound hasn't healed, but has instead become infected with resentment. This behavior is incredibly damaging to relationships because it breeds an atmosphere of distrust and confusion. The other person is left feeling vaguely insulted, but unable to pinpoint why. When they try to address it, you can easily deflect by saying, "You're being too sensitive," or "You're reading too much into it." This gaslighting tactic invalidates their feelings and makes genuine connection impossible. It creates a space where nothing is as it seems, where every word could have a hidden meaning. The relationship can't move forward because it's perpetually stuck in this murky, unspoken tension. Ultimately, these passive-aggressive jabs are a clear signal that the grudge is not only present, but actively seeking expression. Your subconscious mind is trying to communicate the hurt your conscious mind is trying to suppress. It's like a pressure cooker with a faulty valve. Instead of a clean release, the steam escapes in unpredictable, scalding hisses. Recognizing this pattern in your own speech is the first step toward understanding that the anger is still there. It's not gone, it's just gone underground, and from there it's poisoning the very soil of your connection with this person. Let's delve deeper into the specific tools of passive aggression. Sarcasm becomes your primary language when speaking to or about this person. Every word is dripping with an irony that only you fully understand. It's a shield you hold up, a way to engage without truly engaging. By cloaking your criticism in humor, you create a buffer. It allows you to express hostility without taking responsibility for it. This constant sarcasm acts as a barrier, preventing any authentic emotion from getting through. It keeps the other person at a distance and ensures that the real issue, the source of the original wound, is never ever addressed directly. Another powerful tool in the passive-aggressive arsenal is the calculated use of silence. This isn't a peaceful, meditative silence, it's a loud, weaponized silence. It's the silent treatment where your lack of response is meant to be a punishment. You intentionally ignore their text for hours, or you offer one-word answers in a conversation, making your disinterest painfully obvious. This silence is designed to create anxiety and uncertainty in the other person. It's a way of exerting control and making them feel your displeasure without having to articulate a single word of it. It's a cold war, fought with the absence of connection. The motivation behind these behaviors is a deep-seated fear of direct conflict, mixed with a powerful desire for the other person to feel the pain that you feel. You want them to understand the depth of your hurt, but you're unwilling or unable to express it openly. So, you resort to these indirect tactics, hoping they will somehow get the message, but this rarely works. Instead of leading to understanding and resolution, it just creates more confusion, more resentment, and more distance. It's a self-sabotaging cycle that keeps the grudge alive and well, feeding it with every sarcastic remark and every moment of pointed silence. If you find yourself relying on these methods, it's a profound sign that the grudge has taken root. You're not moving on, you're just finding more creative and ultimately more destructive ways to fight a battle you claim is over. True resolution requires courage, vulnerability, and direct communication. It requires putting down the shield of sarcasm and breaking the weapon of silence. It means speaking your truth, not through coded messages and subtle jabs, but with clarity and honesty. Until you can do that, the grudge will continue to dictate the terms of your communication. The second sign is that you have become a historian of your own hurt. You constantly revisit the past, bringing up old wounds in conversation, sometimes overtly, sometimes casually. You might find yourself saying things like, well, this is just like that time when you, or remember what happened last year? Every new situation becomes a lens through which you re-examine the original offense. You are, in effect, keeping the emotional wound from ever scabbing over. By constantly picking at it, you ensure it remains fresh, raw, and painful. This isn't just remembering, it's reliving. Think of your mind as a library. When you hold a grudge, you have one particular book permanently checked out. You carry it with you everywhere, you reread your favorite, most painful passages over and over again. You might even dog-ear the pages that highlight the other person's biggest mistakes. You refuse to return it to the shelf and let it gather dust. Instead, you keep it open on the table of your present moment, allowing its story to overshadow every new experience you have. This constant reference to the past prevents you from being fully present. This habit of revisiting the past prevents any possibility of healing. Healing requires creating new, positive experiences to balance out the negative ones. But if you insist on dragging the baggage of the past into every interaction, you contaminate the present. You don't allow the other person, or yourself, the grace of a fresh start. Every conversation is haunted by the ghosts of old arguments. You're not building a new bridge, you're just standing on the edge of the broken one, pointing at the rubble and reminding everyone how it fell apart. The energy you expend on this is enormous. Holding onto that narrative is exhausting. It keeps a current of negative energy flowing through your life. You become the curator of a museum dedicated to your own pain. And while you might feel justified in doing so, the only person paying the price of admission day after day is you. Breaking this cycle means making a conscious choice to leave the past in the past. It means recognizing that while the story is part of your history, it does not have to be the headline of your today. Let's explore why we cling to these old stories so tightly. Often, it's because the narrative gives us a sense of identity, albeit a painful one. We become the one who was wronged. This identity can feel validating. It proves we were right, that our feelings were justified. Bringing up the past is a way of reinforcing this identity, of reminding ourselves and others of our victimhood. We replay the events, not just to remember them, but to reconvince ourselves of the other person's fault and our own righteousness. Furthermore, bringing up old wounds can be a form of control. If you can keep the other person perpetually on the defensive, they can never truly challenge you in the present. It's a trump card you hold, ready to be played the moment you feel threatened. It's a way to maintain the upper hand in the relationship, with their past mistake acting as a permanent anchor. This constant referencing of the past also prevents personal growth. When you are fixated on what someone else did to you, you are not looking at your own role or your own path forward. Your focus is external, locked onto their actions. True healing and growth come from turning that focus inward. It comes from asking, what did I learn from this? How can I respond differently in the future? How can I build resilience from this experience? By keeping the spotlight on their past mistake, you keep yourself in the shadows, avoiding the necessary work of self-reflection. To break free, you must consciously decide to write a new chapter. This doesn't mean pretending the past didn't happen. It means acknowledging it and then deliberately choosing not to let it define your present interactions. It's about making a pact with yourself to stop using the past as a weapon or a shield. It's about allowing the present moment to be just that, the present. A new, clean slate, where new memories can be made, unburdened by the weight of old grievances. This is an active choice, a daily practice of letting go of the story you've been telling yourself. And that brings us to our third sign, a sign that often masquerades as peace, but is in fact a deeply rooted form of self-protection. It's the feeling of emotional numbness toward the person who hurt you. You might even tell yourself, I'm over it. I just don't care anymore. But I want you to sit with that feeling for a moment. Is it true peace, or is it a fortress you've built around your heart? This isn't the calm after a storm. It's the eerie quiet of a battlefield after everyone has retreated, leaving the land barren and scarred. True healing doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like acceptance, like understanding, like a gentle release. Numbness, on the other hand, is a heavy shield. It's exhausting to carry, and it blocks not only pain, but also the potential for joy and reconnection. Think of your emotions like a river. When a river flows freely, it's vibrant and full of life. It nourishes the land around it. But when you build a dam to stop the flow of pain, you don't just stop the pain, you stop the entire river. The water becomes stagnant, and the land downstream, which represents your other relationships and your own well-being, begins to wither. This numbness, this manufactured indifference, is that dam. It's a defense mechanism designed to prevent further hurt, but in doing so, it isolates a part of your heart. It tells a story of a wound so deep that you've chosen to sever the limb rather than tend to the injury. It's a sign that the grudge is still there, dictating the flow of your emotional life from behind a concrete wall. This emotional detachment is a subtle but powerful form of control. When we feel powerless in the face of being hurt, we seek to regain control in any way we can. By deciding I will feel nothing, we create the illusion of power over the situation and the other person. We think that if they can't get a reaction from us, they can't hurt us again. But who are we really controlling? We are policing our own hearts, putting our own feelings under lockdown. This isn't freedom. It's a self-imposed prison. The grudge becomes the warden, and the sentence is a life less felt. True resolution isn't about shutting down. It's about opening up to the possibility of healing, even if that healing happens without the other person's involvement. It's about letting the river flow again, trusting that you are strong enough to navigate its currents. So I invite you to ask yourself, is this indifference a sign of genuine peace? Or is it a heavy blanket you've pulled over a fire that's still smoldering underneath? Are you truly unbothered? Or have you just become an expert at pretending? Acknowledging this numbness is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of profound courage. It's the first step toward dismantling the dam, piece by piece, and allowing the life-giving waters of your emotions to flow once more. It's about choosing to feel again, understanding that in our capacity to feel pain lies our equal capacity to feel profound joy, love, and connection. Don't let a past hurt rob you of a future full of feeling. When we choose numbness, we are not just building a wall, we are actively severing a connection. Even if the relationship is one you no longer wish to have, the act of holding onto a grudge through indifference keeps you tethered to them in a negative way. It's like holding a dead phone line, refusing to hang up. There's no communication, no life, just a static of unresolved hurt filling the space. This isn't moving on, it's being frozen in place. True healing allows you to hang up the phone with grace, freeing up that line for new calls, for new connections, for new energy to enter your life. The grudge, cloaked in numbness, convinces you that holding on to the deadline is a form of victory, when in reality, it's just a waste of your precious energy. This emotional shutdown makes any form of genuine resolution completely impossible. Think about it. How can you mend a bridge when you refuse to even acknowledge the chasm? How can you find closure when you've locked the door and thrown away the key? The grudge thrives in this space of inaction. It tells you that by feeling nothing, you are winning. But the truth is, the only thing you're winning is a state of permanent stalemate. You remain locked in a silent battle, where the only casualty is your own peace of mind. Forgiveness, or even just acceptance, requires emotional engagement. It requires you to look at the pain, acknowledge it, and then make a conscious choice to release its hold on you. Numbness is the opposite. It's a refusal to even look. Let's use the metaphor of a garden. Your heart is a garden, and every relationship is a plant within it. When a plant is damaged by a storm, by neglect, or by pests, you have a choice. You can tend to it, prune the dead leaves and see if it can be revived. Or you can decide to uproot it to make space for something new to grow. Numbness, however, is like pouring concrete over that section of the garden. You don't heal the plant, and you don't remove it. You just create a dead zone where nothing can ever grow again. This dead zone affects the soil around it, impacting your ability to cultivate other healthy relationships, because a part of your garden, a part of your heart, is now off limits, paved over by the grudge. So the invitation here is to check in with yourself. When you think of this person, is the silence you feel a peaceful, spacious silence, or is it a heavy, empty silence? One is the silence of a library, full of potential and wisdom. The other is the silence of a tomb. Recognizing that this numbness is a defense, a sign, is the first step toward breaking its spell. It's the moment you decide you want your whole garden back. It's the moment you choose life over limbo, connection over concrete, and the messy, beautiful, vibrant reality of your emotions over the sterile safety of feeling nothing at all. This is where the real work of letting go begins. The fourth sign that a grudge has taken root in your life is something many of us do without even realizing it. We practice active avoidance. This is more than just not calling someone back. It's when the grudge starts redrawing the map of your life. Suddenly, that coffee shop you used to love is off limits because you might see them there. You start turning down invitations to parties or gatherings if there's even a small chance they might attend. You find yourself taking the long way home to avoid driving past their street. The grudge is no longer just an internal feeling. It's become an architect, building invisible fences around your world, dictating where you can and cannot go. These acts of avoidance feel like small, logical decisions in the moment. You tell yourself, I just don't want the drama, or it's easier this way. But what's really happening? You are allowing a past event to control your present actions. You are giving the grudge the power to shrink your world, one coffee shop, one party, one street at a time. It's like having a stone in your shoe. At first, you just adjust your step to avoid the pressure. But soon, you're limping. You're avoiding certain terrains. Before you know it, your entire journey is dictated by this small, persistent source of pain. The grudge is that stone, and your avoidance is the limp that you've adopted to cope with it. Think of your life as a huge, beautiful house with many rooms. Each room represents a different experience, a place, a friendship, a memory. When you hold a grudge, you start locking doors. The room where you shared a laugh with that person? Locked. The room representing the restaurant where you had a difficult conversation? Locked. The room for the mutual friends you share? Locked. Over time, you find yourself living in just a few small corridors of your own magnificent house because so many rooms are now haunted by the ghost of this grudge. You've become a prisoner in your own home, confined by the avoidance that you thought was keeping you safe. This is a critical moment of awareness. I want you to notice the invisible fences in your own life. Which places do you avoid? Which people have you distanced yourself from, not because of a direct issue, but because of their association with the person you have a grudge against? Recognizing this pattern is the first step to reclaiming your space. It's about understanding that every time you alter your path to avoid a memory, you are reinforcing the grudge's power over you. You are letting it win. The goal is not to force a confrontation, but to reclaim your freedom to move through your own life without fear, to unlock the doors in your own house, and to live in every single room. The practice of active avoidance, while it may seem to offer comfort in the short term, comes at a very high long-term cost: social isolation. It starts small. You miss one party, you skip one group lunch. But these small acts compound over time. Friendships are built on shared experiences, on showing up. When you consistently opt out because you're trying to avoid one person, you're not just avoiding them, you're avoiding everyone else who is present. You are slowly erasing yourself from the picture of your own social life. The grudge creates a ripple effect, and what begins as a conflict with one individual can lead to a disconnection from an entire community. This self-imposed isolation can be incredibly lonely. You might see photos online from the event you skipped and feel a pang of regret or sadness. You might start to feel like you're being left out, when in reality, you are the one who is choosing to stay away. The grudge creates a distorted narrative in your mind. It tells you that you're protecting yourself, but it's a protection that feels like punishment. It's like sitting inside on a beautiful day because you're afraid of a single cloud in the sky. You miss the sunshine, the fresh air, and the company of others, all to avoid the slim possibility of rain. Is the avoidance of that one person worth the cost of your connection to many? Furthermore, this constant vigilance required for avoidance is exhausting. It drains your mental and emotional resources. Think about the energy it takes to constantly scan a room when you enter, to plan your schedule around someone else's potential whereabouts, to hold a mental map of safe and unsafe zones. This is energy that could be spent on your passions, your career, your family, your own growth. The grudge becomes a part-time job that you never signed up for, and the main task is logistics management for avoidance. It keeps you stuck in a state of high alert, unable to truly relax and be present in your own life because you're always on the lookout. So the invitation here is to calculate the true cost of your comfort. What has this avoidance really cost you? Friendships? Experiences? Peace of mind? Your own freedom? Reclaiming your world doesn't mean you have to seek out the person. It simply means you stop letting their shadow dictate your choices. It means going to the coffee shop because you love the coffee. It means going to the party because you want to see your friends. It's a quiet declaration of independence. It's you telling the grudge, you do not get to draw my map anymore. This is my world, and I will walk freely in it. Our fifth sign is one that lives on the surface of our interactions. It's when your irritability toward this person is on a hair trigger. A minor annoyance, something you would easily overlook in anyone else, becomes a major offense when they do it. They chew their food too loudly, and you feel a surge of rage. They use a certain phrase in a text message, and you're instantly infuriated. They're 5 minutes late, and in your mind, it's a profound sign of their disrespect and carelessness. The grudge acts like a powerful magnifying glass, taking every single one of their minor flaws and imperfections and blowing them up into monstrous proportions. This happens because the unresolved anger from the original hurt needs an outlet. It's like a volcano, dormant but full of pressure. The main vent is blocked, you haven't dealt with the core issue, so the pressure escapes through smaller fissures in the form of disproportionate anger over trivial matters. You're not just reacting to them being late, you're reacting with the full force of the original betrayal or disappointment. Every small annoyance becomes proof, a confirmation of the negative story you already believe about them. Your hair-triggered temper is a symptom of a much deeper wound that is still festering, still raw, and still looking for a way to be seen and heard. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a cup that is already filled to the brim with the water of resentment. When this person comes along and adds even a single drop by making a thoughtless comment or a small mistake, the cup overflows. It's not the drop that's the problem, it's the fact that your cup was already full. A person who has truly let go has an empty cup. A single drop makes a tiny splash, and that's it. It doesn't cause a flood. If you find yourself consistently overreacting to small things this person does, it's a clear sign that your cup is full. The grudge is keeping you perpetually on the edge of overflowing, ready to spill anger at the slightest provocation. This constant state of readiness for anger is incredibly stressful for your nervous system. It keeps you in a low-grade state of fight or flight whenever you anticipate an interaction with them, or even just think about them. Your body is tense, your mind is on high alert, and your emotional equilibrium is fragile. This isn't just about them. It's about the peace you are robbing from yourself. The invitation is to notice this pattern of magnification. The next time you feel that surge of outsized anger, pause and ask yourself, what am I really angry about right now? Is it this specific action? Or is this feeling connected to the much larger unresolved pain I'm carrying? When we are stuck in a grudge, we subconsciously put the other person on trial, and we become the lead prosecutor. With our irritability on a hair trigger, every action they take becomes Exhibit A in the case we are building against them. We are constantly gathering evidence to prove that they are a bad, flawed, or inconsiderate person. This process of confirmation bias means we actively look for their mistakes and completely ignore any positive actions or qualities. The grudge wants to be justified, and so it filters your perception, ensuring you only see the evidence that supports your negative verdict of their character. This turns you from a participant in a relationship into a judge of their character. You're no longer seeing them as a complex human being who, like all of us, has strengths and weaknesses. Instead, they become a two-dimensional caricature of their worst moments. The grudge flattens them, strips them of their humanity in your eyes, and makes it easier for you to sustain your anger. This is a heavy burden to carry, not just because of the anger, but because being a constant critic, a constant judge, hardens our own hearts. It makes us more cynical and less compassionate, not just toward them, but in general. Think about the energy it takes to be a detective, a prosecutor, and a judge in a trial that never ends. It's a full-time, unpaid, and soul-crushing job. Every text message is analyzed, every social media post is scrutinized, every reported conversation is filed away as more proof. The grudge convinces you that this vigilance is necessary for your protection, but it's actually keeping you chained to the very person you want to be free from. You are giving them an incredible amount of space in your head, allowing their every move to be the subject of your intense focus. True freedom is not winning the case against them. It's dismissing the case entirely and walking out of the courtroom. So, the self-reflection here is to ask, have I become a character witness against this person in the courtroom of my own mind? Am I actively looking for their flaws to justify the way I feel? Releasing the grudge means stepping down from the judge's bench. It means dropping the magnifying glass. It's not about declaring them innocent, it's about declaring yourself free. It's about accepting that your peace doesn't depend on proving them wrong. It depends on your willingness to stop collecting evidence, to stop replaying the trial, and to finally mercifully let the case rest. The sixth sign that a grudge has its hooks in you is when you find yourself trapped in a relentless loop of negative thoughts. This isn't just a fleeting moment of annoyance. It's a mental prison you've inadvertently built, brick by brick, with every replayed memory of the hurt. Think of your mind as a beautiful, serene garden. A grudge is like an invasive weed that, once it takes root, begins to spread its tendrils everywhere. It chokes out the vibrant flowers of your present joy, your future aspirations, and your inner peace. You find yourself mentally rehearsing arguments, replaying the moment of betrayal over and over, each time feeling the sting as if it were happening for the first time. This cycle, known as rumination, keeps the wound fresh and prevents any real healing from beginning. This mental replay isn't just a passive activity, it actively reinforces the negative neural pathways in your brain. It's like walking the same path in a forest day after day. At first, it's just a faint trail. But with each trip, the path becomes deeper, wider, and more defined, until it's the easiest and most natural route to take. Similarly, by constantly revisiting the negative event, you are training your brain to default to that state of hurt and anger. You're not just remembering the past, you are actively reliving it. And in doing so, you are allowing that past event to dictate the emotional weather of your present moment, casting a long, dark shadow over everything you do and feel. This constant internal monologue is incredibly draining. It consumes a vast amount of your mental and emotional energy, leaving you feeling exhausted, depleted, and cynical. It's like having a radio in your head that's permanently tuned to a station playing your greatest hurts on a loop. You can try to ignore it, to turn the volume down, but it's always there, a low hum of negativity in the background of your life. This negativity doesn't stay contained to your thoughts about that one person either. It starts to seep into your broader outlook, coloring your perceptions of other people and situations, making you more suspicious, less trusting, and quicker to assume the worst in others. Ultimately, this thought loop keeps the grudge alive and well, feeding it with your attention and energy. It becomes a form of self-sabotage, a way of punishing yourself for a hurt someone else inflicted. You become the gatekeeper of your own pain, refusing to let it go because you're so caught up in the story of how you were wronged. But what we must understand is that these thoughts are just that, thoughts. They are echoes, not the event itself. Breaking free from this cycle requires a conscious choice to change the station, to stop walking that well-worn path, and to start cultivating new, more positive thought patterns that lead you back to a place of peace and presence. When you're stuck in this loop, the grudge begins to poison the well of your entire life. Imagine your mind is a well from which you draw all of your perceptions, decisions, and feelings. When a grudge is festering, it's like a toxin has been dripped into that well. At first, it might only affect the water you draw when thinking about that specific person or situation. But over time, that poison spreads, contaminating every single drop. Soon, you find yourself drawing up bitterness when you should be feeling joy, suspicion when you could be feeling connection, and resentment when you could be experiencing gratitude. Your entire perspective on the world becomes tainted by this unresolved hurt. This poisoned outlook manifests in subtle but significant ways. You might start to see slights and insults where none were intended. A friend's casual comment is interpreted as a dig. A colleague's success is viewed through a lens of jealousy and unfairness. The world starts to feel like a more hostile and competitive place because the unresolved anger inside you is projecting itself outward, looking for evidence to confirm its narrative of victimhood and injustice. You're no longer responding to the world as it is. You're responding to the world as your grudge has taught you to see it. It's a distorted reality, a funhouse mirror that reflects back your own inner turmoil. Furthermore, this constant stream of negativity robs you of the mental space needed for growth, creativity, and problem solving. Your cognitive resources are finite, and when they are hijacked by rumination, there's little left for anything else. Think of it like your phone's battery. If you have an app running in the background all day, constantly using up power, your battery will be drained by noon. A grudge is that background app for your mind. It's constantly running, draining your mental and emotional reserves, leaving you with no energy to pursue your goals, nurture your other relationships, or simply enjoy the quiet beauty of a peaceful moment. Breaking free from this requires you to consciously detoxify your well. It means recognizing that the narrative your grudge is telling you is just one story, and it's a story that is no longer serving you. It involves the practice of mindfulness, of noticing when the negative thought loop begins and choosing not to engage with it. It's about intentionally focusing on gratitude, on the good in your life, and on the relationships that do bring you joy and support. It's a deliberate act of reclaiming your mind, of purifying that well, so that you can once again draw clear, life-giving water that nourishes your soul instead of poisoning it. The seventh and final sign is one of the most insidious. You become obsessed with fairness and vindication. This is when the grudge transforms your mind into a courtroom, and you are the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury all at once. You are relentlessly building a case against the person who wronged you, gathering evidence, replaying testimonies in your head, and drafting your closing arguments. You are consumed by the need to be proven right, to have your pain acknowledged, and to receive a formal apology that validates your suffering. You believe that only when they admit their fault can you finally find peace and move on. This desire for justice is completely natural. It stems from a deep-seated human need for our reality to be affirmed. When someone hurts us, it can feel like they've shattered our understanding of the world, and we desperately want them to help us piece it back together by admitting their role in the destruction. However, when this desire curdles into an obsession, it becomes a cage. You are chaining your own freedom to someone else's actions, words, or awareness. You are essentially giving them the key to your happiness and waiting, perhaps indefinitely, for them to use it to let you out. This is a powerless position to be in. The truth is, the world isn't always fair, and justice doesn't always look the way we want it to. The apology you crave may never come. The person who hurt you may never see the error of their ways, or they may be incapable of giving you the validation you seek. By making their apology a prerequisite for your healing, you are outsourcing your emotional well-being. You are putting your life on hold, waiting for an external event that is entirely outside of your control. This waiting game is exhausting and keeps you tethered to the very person and the very pain you wish to be free from. It's a self-imposed sentence of emotional limbo. The profound shift happens when you realize that your healing is your responsibility and yours alone. It is not dependent on anyone else's apology or admission of guilt. Vindication is not something another person can give you. It is something you must give yourself. You find it not by winning the court case in your mind, but by dismissing it entirely. It's about recognizing that the need to be right is keeping you trapped in the past, and that your true power lies in your ability to grant yourself closure, to validate your own feelings, and to choose to walk away from the courtroom and back into the light of your own life. This obsession with fairness acts like a heavy anchor, mooring you to the rocky shores of the past. As long as that anchor is down, your ship cannot sail forward into the calm, open waters of the future. You are stuck, battered by the same waves of resentment and anger, unable to move on to new destinations and new experiences. This anchor is forged from the heavy metal of expectation, the expectation that the other person must act in a certain way, say certain things, or feel a certain amount of remorse before you can pull it up and set yourself free. It's a righteous expectation, perhaps, but a crippling one nonetheless. Holding on to this need for vindication is like holding a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. While you are spending your days and nights consumed with thoughts of their wrongdoing and your need for justice, they are likely outliving their life, oblivious to the turmoil you are in. The grudge becomes a one-sided burden, a heavy weight that only you are carrying. The desire for them to suffer as you have suffered only multiplies the suffering in the world, and most of it is happening inside of you. It's a painful irony. In your quest for fairness, you are creating a deeply unfair situation for yourself. Letting go of this need is not about condoning what they did. It is not about saying that what happened was okay or that it didn't hurt. It is about acknowledging that you cannot change what happened and you cannot control the other person. The only thing you can control is your own response. It's about understanding that true freedom doesn't come from getting the apology you think you deserve. True freedom comes from realizing you don't need it to heal. It's a radical act of self-compassion, of choosing your own peace over the unending and unwinnable battle for external validation. This is where you reclaim your power. You take back the pen and become the author of your own story once again. You decide that the chapter on this hurt has gone on long enough, and you are ready to write a new one filled with peace, growth, and joy. You pull up that heavy anchor of expectation not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. You let the winds of acceptance fill your sails, and you navigate your ship away from the treacherous coast of the past and toward the limitless horizon of your own potential. That is the ultimate vindication. So, that's the list, the 7 surprising signs a grudge is still running your life. From the subtle sting of passive-aggressive jokes and the exhausting replay of constantly bringing up the past, to the protective shell of feeling emotionally numb, from the shrinking world of active avoidance and having a hair-triggered temper that keeps you on edge, to being stuck in that relentless negative thought loop, and finally, obsessing over a sense of fairness and vindication that may never arrive. These are the quiet, insidious ways that unresolved hurt can continue to influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions long after the initial event has passed. I want you to think of these signs not as judgments, but as gentle messages from your subconscious, as loving whispers from your soul telling you that there's a wound that needs your attention. They aren't signs of weakness, and they are not proof that you are broken. On the contrary, they are powerful signals that you have a profound opportunity to heal and to grow. They are signposts on your journey, pointing you toward an area of your life that, with care and compassion, can become a source of incredible strength, wisdom, and resilience. Seeing them clearly is the first, most crucial step. The moment you can name these patterns, the moment you can see them for what they are, you begin to reclaim your power over them. By dragging them out of the shadows of your subconscious and into the light of your awareness, you take away their power. You begin to see the profound truth that holding on to a grudge, holding on to that anger and resentment, hurts you infinitely more than it hurts anyone else. You realize that letting go isn't a gift you give to the other person. It's truly the greatest gift of peace, liberation, and freedom that you can ever give yourself. It is the ultimate act of self-love. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 7 signs hit home the hardest for you? Have you ever caught yourself practicing active avoidance, or realized you were stuck in a loop of negative thoughts and not understood that it was connected to an old, unresolved hurt? Please, share your experience in the comments below. Your story is powerful, and your vulnerability can create a space for others to feel seen and understood. You never know, Your journey might be exactly what someone else needs to read to start their own journey of letting go. Thank you so much for watching and for being on this path with me.
Real talk, real shift, no fluff, no bullshit. Truth bombs to blow up your excuses and spark your soul. Unpack your shift, let's roll.